Hello, whiskey folk. It's 9:45 on Thursday again, and it's Roy Aqvavitae. Welcome, everybody. Nice to have you all here on a Thursday night again, and welcome especially if you're watching on the replay. And of course, welcome to all the Janes and Johnnies on this International Women's Day. We'll talk about that a little bit later. I think it's been quite interesting, some of the stories that's been popping out specifically around this International Women's Day and whiskey. We will also talk a wee bit about some of the cool new changes that we have on YouTube. You might have noticed already that we no longer need to learn how to adapt and put into place broadcasting software and things to do these live streams when we want to see the chat after the event. That YouTube has now included that as part of the standard package, and there's another couple of little changes they've made as well, which makes this a wee bit cooler for us, I think. And we'll also talk a wee bit about the theme for tonight, which I kind of based loosely around the concept of nostalgia and whiskey. And I was kind of motivated to do that for two reasons. By one of my patrons, who's actually in tonight. I caught him in the chat quickly just before I went live, Mikey Hay. Mikey does a blog and a website based around kind of nostalgia and retro things. It's called Retromash. You can find Mikey at retromash.com. I'll link him in the description after the video. But I burnt quite a bit of time looking at his website. And what it was doing, it was showing me things from my childhood, things from the 80s. And it kind of, I was very aware of that feeling of nostalgia that you get when you look at those things. But the second thing that inspired me to use this as a loose theme was also my visit last weekend, actually 10 days ago now, to the Old and Rare show in Glasgow, which is really quite a high-end event, quite an expensive whiskey show. But what it does is it really focuses on some of the great legendary whiskies of the past, as well as lots of examples of historical bottles of whiskey. Just a really fabulous thing to have done. And it made me think quite a lot about what whiskies have come and gone, what whiskies are in the past, and what whiskies we can only really dream about, we can't really afford anymore, and things like that. And were they actually better back then, or is it, just like anything else, some are better, some are worse? And really, if we think everything was better in the good old days, then perhaps we are suffering from a wee bit of nostalgia. Talking of nostalgia, I started tonight with a Glenlivet 12-year-old. Now, this Glenlivet, it was replaced a couple of years ago, as you well know, by Founders Reserve in the UK and Europe and other markets. Not a patch on how good this is, but I do hear, and I'm led to understand, that the Glenlivet 12 is coming back this year. So we look forward to that. Let's just do a quick roll call and say hello to some folks and welcome some people in. There's somebody I want to welcome in, Gregor McQuee. Hi, Gregor. I believe you have arrived out in Vietnam, and you're probably watching this almost at 5 a.m. in the morning. So I'd say you did threaten that you were going to come in, and it's fantastic to welcome you here, my friend. Thank you. We have Travis. Travis has been in chatting with Jason since quite a wee while ago. They were quite early, the two of them. Fantastic to welcome you in, Travis, again. Amy, that's Amy's husband's wife. Amy, nice to have you here again, Amy. Fantastic. Ed from Top Whiskies. I'm assuming it's Ed. I'm going to assume that it's you. I managed to, I'll tell you about how I managed to hook up with Ed in London a bit later, because it's quite a story. We've got Scott, Kilted Moose. Fantastic, Scott. Good to see you again. A new name, Jos Corte, or Joss. Hey, Jos, nice to welcome you in. It's a new name there. Welsh is in. Fantastic, my friend. Good to have you here. Mikey Hay, as I mentioned, he's in. Who else do we have? I've lost the scroll again. We've got Jason, Whiskey Jason. Fantastic to have you in. JasonWhiskyWise from London as well is also running shotgun for me tonight. He's going to try and help me manage the chat. And he's going to have his work cut out because we've already got over 80 people in. So what to do is, if you've got a question that you want answered, try and highlight it to me, and I'll try and keep my eye on the chat. It's only me tonight. There's no guest in. It's just myself. And If not, if that's struggling, also highlight Jason, and he'll ping it through to me on a direct message, and hopefully I won't miss anything important. Of course, as per usual, if there's something that's absolutely needs to be answered or needs to be said, the super chat function is there for that as well. We have James Hope. Good to see you again, James. Go Habs. John Paul Vanderhoven. Dwayne Large. Blind Whiskey Reviews. Colourless Blue Things. Everwind. V-Rich. Raster. Kian O'Hara. Whiskey Wolf. Fantastic. Everybody's piling in. Hoyt Hemphill. Fantastic Hoyt. Alan Wilson. Superb. Craig Dollier. Hokey Bear. Malt Musings. Mead Mule. Fantastic. Lovely to see you all. Lovely to see you all in so early as well. Or perhaps it's late where you are. Regardless, I appreciate it. Okay, what we'll do is we'll get these drams poured. So what I have here is Glenmorangie. This Glenmorangie is from I think somewhere in the mid to late 90s, maybe just about the millennium, that kind of order. Maybe a bit earlier than that, actually, because this tin and bottle doesn't have a barcode on it, so probably could be mid or early 90s. But my wife won this in a raffle, a local raffle, and she brought it home. I was really chuffed to find it because, I mean, this isn't an expensive bottle. You can pick this up for 40, 50 pounds at auction even now. But it's nice to have these old bottles, and it's certainly nice to have them when they're low value and you can just pop them and enjoy them, like I'm going to do tonight, alongside a contemporary bottling. Now, I just have a small bottle, but it's the up-to-date Glenmorangie Original. It wasn't called Original, it was just the Glenmorangie 10-year-old when this guy was around. But what I thought I'd do is compare these two with the loose theme of nostalgia and old versus new, and just try and see what the old one is like compared to the new one. I love doing this kind of thing. I do it with quite a few whiskies. I've got old Highland Parks, old Mortlacs, old Longmorns, old blends, and there's nothing better than to pour one of these older whiskies that's been in glass for a long time, obviously not maturing, not aging legally. Oh, it sounds like I am broadcasting underwater. Slight underwater sound on the audio. I do apologise. Is it clear now? Please tell me it's clear. Let's see. Okay. Christopher Malloy is in. Christopher, good to see you. Is you saying yes, that I'm clearer? Hoagie's saying that the older Glenmorangie 10 is much more spicy, Highland style than a domesticated new one. Looking forward to your head-to-head. Absolutely. You sound fine to me. Good. Maybe I've changed the mic position. That's all I've done tonight. I've just tried to make it so that the sound is a bit more. Okay, it's more like you're talking into a tube. Maybe two mics are on. That could be true. That could be true. Let me see. Okay, tell me if that's any better. If that's cleared it up a little bit. Craig is saying I'm still echoing. I'm hoping that it's unlikely to be the internet. It's more likely to be the Roy. Let's see if that's working. Much better. It still has an echo. Perfect. Yes, better. Yes, better. Good. I apologise. So what I've been trying to do is trying to work out a way that I could share the quiz questions with you. I've had a lot of feedback of the people that stay at the end and enjoy the quiz at the end, that sometimes they miss the question, probably due to my Scottish accent, or I'm perhaps a bit tired and lazy and don't make myself very clear. So what I tried to do the last couple of times is fathom a way that I could, without using broadcasting software, bring up the quiz questions and flick backwards and forwards between me and the questions so you could see it. So anyway, let's get this Glenmorangie. We heard Hoagie's just mentioning there that that he thinks the old Glenmorangie, quite a nice cap. The old Glenmorangie is now we have to be careful with these old bottles because very often this could all fall apart if I end up downstairs looking for strainers and bottle openers and things. You have to be very gentle with them when the cork's been in there a long time. They have a habit of disintegrating. Let's see if we can get this guy to... There we go, superb. Cork smells pretty fresh. So that's this guy finally breathing after a good, let's use clean glasses, after a good maybe 25 years or so, cooped up in glass. It's quite a generous pour there. But anyway, we'll let that breathe. And what we'll do is we'll stick a wee coloured dot underneath this, right in the centre. Now I won't see that. You'll perhaps see it as I lift the glass and sip from it. But the old one we're going to mark as red. And then the new one will pop as well. And I didn't want to open these in advance. I wanted them both to be opened fresh, side by side. And then you guys knew that they were both kind of fresh bottles. Not that it makes too much difference, but at least you're comparing apples for apples that way. Oh dear, wouldn't that be ironic? It's the new one that the cork failed on. No, we're good, we're good. Oh wow. Okay, now what I need to do is fill these to the same level. Good, good. And then I'll stick another wee coloured dot. This is the dull part. Or maybe this is the exciting part. Right in the centre, so I can't tell a difference. Good. And we now have a yellow label on the contemporary Glenmorangie Original. There we go. So this might seem like something that's difficult to achieve. I've only got 2 glasses here. And as I spin them backwards and forwards and mix them around, and obviously I'm distracted speaking to you guys, already I genuinely have absolutely no idea which is which. Now I don't have my camera on me. I can't monitor myself right now because the chat, I can see the chat here. But you guys might think as I lift this up, I can see the coloured dot underneath, but the monitor is switched off. So you just need to trust me that I'm kind of doing this blind. There's nothing for me to gain out of this. I know it's Glenmorangie 10. All I want to do is leave them for a wee minute and see if I can detect a difference, see if there's any similarities, family DNA, and kind of decide if there's one that's obviously, to my palate, of course, any better. And I'm going to just put 2 little hats on this. You might recognize these hats from the dummies, but what's quite exciting is this one is now available. I don't know if you can see that. On the front it's a nice colour scheme, and on the back we've got Future Dummy, as the Scotch Test Dummies are calling it. These are really cool little collectibles that the Scotch Test Dummies do, and each one's got a number on it. My number just happens to be 181, and I've managed to collect each of the 3 casks at number 1H1. And what they're perfect for is just sitting on top of a Glencairn or a nosing glass and holding in the aromas. We'll let those 2 breathe for a little bit. Let's see what you guys are saying quickly. Aqvavitae, you should sell Aqvavitae branded coloured dots in an online shop. That's right, little Aqvavitae logos on the dots. Hoagie is saying Aqvavitae had the old 10 and 15 around last Christmas. Enjoyed them both very much. Same label, but could still be 5 years apart from your bottle, I think. Yeah, I think they were fairly consistent, Glenmorangie. They didn't. They had a few different editions that were all about at the same time, so it was like kind of parallel availability. The one that I have features pictures of a malt floor and maltman turning the barley. But there was a series in this coloured tin with different kind of different pictures on there. And then later in the 90s, actually, I remember now, later in the 90s, the tin became black. It was a blacker tin, a darker tin, with a barcode on the back, obviously. And that brought them into early 2000s. Then obviously Louis Vuitton Moet Hennessy took over and eventually brought in these new more kind of curvy bottles with the Glenmorangie emblem square, the Pictish square in the centre. So I guess this is about mid-90s, but it's just a guess. I'm not an expert. But certainly it's at least kind of, I don't know, 25 years-ish old. Hoagie's saying he enjoyed them both very much. So let's see how I got on with them. Any other mentions coming in to me? I'll just check to see if Jason's thrown anything at me. Glenmorangie is my go-to Scotch. It's one of my favourites, Whiskey Throttle, for... I use the Glenlivet 12 as that kind of calibrator tonight, and normally it would be Glenfiddich 12, and the other one I use for that is this Glenmorangie, and it's because it's very light, very delicate. It just sets your palate up for whatever you're drinking that night, and it's usually widely available and often on sale, so you can sometimes find it for less than £30 on sale. And I have to be honest, even though some people say that it's got quite light or overly light and a wee bit bland recently, I still enjoy Glenmorangie 10. And I have to apologise because I think I'm on record as saying that Glenmorangie 10, the original, was one of those whiskies that lost its age statement. And I looked into that to see if that was the case, and I don't think they did. I think that just with the rebranding, it was more difficult to see the words down here on the kind of bronze label at the bottom. It says 10 years old. I think it just became more difficult to see. But now in the newer branding, just slightly newer than this, just in the last couple of months, they've got a big red 10 so everybody can see that it's an age statement now. Whiskey Throttle is saying it's very good in his opinion. Awesome. Well, let's see how it is compared to the older version. Okay, I think I'm getting the thumbs up from Jason that the audio is okay. I apologise for that underwater effect. Okay, warm-up drams before moving on to Campbelltowns and Cask Strengths. Absolutely, Daydramming. Good to see you in. That's Andrew Neal, I think, from Australia. Wow, wonder what time it is with you, buddy. Go Habs is saying that Glenmorangie 10 and Glenfiddich 12 are my reset drams. Yeah, it seems to be the obvious thing for a lot of people. I was really quite surprised recently, or not that surprised, but I noticed recently on a Ralphie video that he picked out the Glenfiddich 12 as his reset dram, his calibrator, the dram he uses to kind of set up his palate. And I thought that was quite cool, and I couldn't resist but commenting on the Ralphie video to say, yeah, I did that. I've got a video out there that suggests that people do that. You know, I know it's not cool kind of promoting your own videos, but yeah, you've got to take the opportunity now and again. Okay, let's have a wee smell of these just to get started. And well, this one's not giving up very much right now. It's still a wee bit tight, I would say. But first gut instinct is that this one is the older one. So I don't know if you can see the coloured dot that's under there. If I'm right, this should be red. And this one, okay, the new one, if I'm right, if this is yellow, and I smelt it when I opened the bottle as well, a blast of pineapple. And there's a candy in the UK that's a cubed, hard-boiled candy. It's a cube with a sugar dusting on it. You can get cola-flavoured ones, but what I'm getting from this is a blast of pineapple cubes. Yeah, really top note heavy, really fresh, really clean, almost kind of some grain. Obviously, this is malt whiskey, of course, but there's some grain aspects to it as well. Like it's a, you know, like the sugar I'm describing on the outside of that cube. It's like dusty sugar, like icing sugar or sponge sugar. A wee bit of malt and lemon rind and citrus. And you know, and I've never had it on Glenmorangie before, but a wee bit of salt. And this is very flat. If this is the older one, and I'm absolutely certain that it is, it's nosing a wee bit flat, and that's common. Wee bit of smoke, wee bit of maybe you wouldn't call it smoke, but it's like a, it is, it's smoke. It's a distant peat smoke. Not getting much spice, not getting much fruit from it. But my guess is that this one here on the right-hand side, you guys can probably see the color, is the older one, and it's very tight, and that's common. But there's also a common kind of thing that can happen with whiskey that's been in glass a long time. It develops this flavor. We've got to remember that even though it's whiskey and it's high alcohol and it's fairly stable and it can last a long time, it's still, you know, full of chemicals, a chemical soup that sits in this glass for a long time, and it can still develop and change. Anybody that is doing their own kind of experiments at home with infinity bottles will see how dramatically the whiskey can change, even in a short space of time. So even when the bottle is completely sealed and tight, over months and years on a shelf somewhere, you just hope that it's been stored well. Even with very good storage, the whiskey can change, and it often develops this OBE, this thing that's referred to as old bottle effect. Daydreaming is saying, no dramming along this Friday morning. You are in Australia. Yeah, could be frowned upon in the office. Well, thank you for joining me, given that you're working. Everyone, did you see my response to your post on the Ralphie Deanston review? Everyone that did see, I just caught it tonight. Ralphie just did a review for Deanston 12-year-old, and I couldn't resist leaving a comment there because I've been raving about it for so long. And also managed to hook up with Ralphie at the Old and Rare show. I got to spend quite a bit of time with him. He was very gracious with his time. And I think he would have spent even more time with me, but I had to branch off twice for master classes. But each time I came out, he was there again, and it was just awesome just to kind of hang out and chat to the guy. And there is no difference when you speak to him from the guy you see on YouTube. The exact same language, the exact same. He's a really nice guy, really nice guy. Kevin Bryant. Hi, Kevin. Kevin is saying, Evening Roy, starting out with the Whiskey Lounge Kalila, 18-year-old 1997, fantastic cask series. So you're starting on the PT stuff. You're at the other end of the spectrum, Kevin. Eric Waite is in. He's watching while he's driving home. Be careful, Eric, big guy. Make sure you get home okay. And thanks for joining us. Gary's Whiskey Reviews in. Gary, hi, Gary. You're very welcome here. Connor, how are you? He's saying, I missed the start. Which color dot represents which bottle? Well, hopefully, Connor, you can see both those colors. I don't know if you can. I apologize if you can't. But the red one is the old version, and the yellow one is the newer version. I'm just about to take a sip, so you'll certainly see the color then. George is in. George Kaplan, fantastic to see you. I've got another new name there, Ebril. How is the old Morangie you're tasting? I've not had a sip of it yet, Ebril, but welcome in. That's the first time I've seen your name, I think. Toon Rooj, fantastic to see you in, buddy. Maltman, Mike, and friends. Mike, I guess that's you. Good to see you in again. Thank you for coming, for returning after your very sportsmanlike appearance in the quiz last week. Talking of the quiz, if any of you want to put your name forward for the quiz rather than a delay at the end, if you're staying long enough to join in on the quiz, send your name into Jason's. Just JasonWhiskyWise, who's moderating, say quiz please. Just send him a direct message. Jason will pick up your name and he'll hopefully forward it on to me. And we'll just have a head-to-head from the crowd tonight since there's no guest. That would be fantastic. White Hemp Hall is saying, Roy, any jelly babies in there? Yes. I don't know. You're probably making fun of me after the pineapple cubes, the kind of sugar candy thing, but this is the new Glenmorangie's pineapple cubes. It's unbelievable. It's so very, very fresh, very fresh. I'm saying it. I'm certain this is a new one. It's just when I opened the bottle, that pineapple fresh smell came pouring out, and this is still just that wee bit flat, but it's definitely got that old bottle effect. So let's have a wee sip. Okay. They're both 40%, but as Hoagie Bear pointed out, and if this is the old one, there's quite a bit of spice there. A lot more spice that I'm familiar with in Glenmorangie 10. Bit of fruit coming out now. It was still a bit tight, still a bit hidden. Definitely, if you pour this for me blind, I would be suggesting that, maybe, I would be suggesting that there's a wee bit of smoke in here. That's a very nice whiskey. You would not have me believing that was 40% though. And it is, it's 40%. Wow. Let's have a wee go. I'm not gonna rinse my mouth out. I'm just gonna taste them back to back. It's just so, I can't smell or taste past that pineapple. Much fresher, much cleaner, much softer, much lighter. Lots of fruit, lots of clean, fresh citrus. Drier, actually much drier on the finish, much shorter finish. Wow. It's just disappearing. But as far as I'm concerned, there's no debate about it. I'm going to have a big red face if I get this wrong, but I am absolutely convinced that this one on the left is the yellow dot, which it absolutely is, and this one is the older one. The difference between these two the color is remarkably similar, right? I don't know how it looks to you. Sometimes my camera can look a bit green, but the color is remarkably similar. They've done a good job of keeping the color consistent. But the flavor, the newer spirit is much, much cleaner, as I say. And damn, the old one's good. There's nothing wrong with the new one, nothing wrong at all, but wow. A bit malty, lots of spice, as Hoagie said, fantastic. The fruit profile is completely different. This is much more kind of cooked fruits. Much longer finish, and definitely there's that tiny wisp of smoke, of distant smoke. Almost like, you know, you've been around the fire and your jacket has still kind of got that smell even after a couple of days of just that light, dank, damp smoke. I'm going to really enjoy sipping the two of these while I speak to you. I prefer the old one, but that's not to say the new one is bad whiskey. Nothing like it. Mix them together, Whiskey Throttle is saying, and see what happens. That's a damn good idea. So when I'm halfway through the glasses, I'll make it'll still be a single malt. I'll just mix them together. AM Flyer 68 is saying, Aqvavitae, do you see the difference between the two? Maybe minus the smoke. Due to the time in a bottle, well, who knows? That's the thing. You know, all that freshness that's on the newer one, you know, could have just flattened out over time, and it could have just become a bit more spicy. But no, I think that, as we all know, whiskey and consistency, you know, consistency is the hardest thing to achieve in whiskey, I would say. Pot still whiskey, certainly, because it's a batch-driven product, and there's all sorts of other dynamics and things pushing and pulling the industry year after year. And it's almost impossible for them batch by batch, and it's inevitable that there'll be a drift due to the strains of barley that's available. I mean, what's really interesting, I was reading this tin earlier. Who asked me that question? AM Flyer. What it actually says is that it says we use the same fine barley locally grown in Rochshire. Oh, and lightly peated. Wow, I wonder if I had that in my head. It actually says here that it's lightly peated during malting. Our water rises in the Torlogie Springs, close to distillery. So they're actually saying that when this was made, this 10-year-old was made, they used local grown barley. So there's terroir in this as well. This is, nowadays the barley is imported. We're using English barley, we're using European barley, we're using barley from all over Scotland. That's just been, the logistics and transportation network nowadays means that it's very cheap to do that. So you buy whichever barley to your specification and have it shipped. So the barley strains will be different. The production process will probably be a bit more automated since back then. Perhaps back in the early 90s, Glenmorangie, so this would have been made in the 80s, this spirit, so Glenmorangie was still down at 4 or 8 stills, and I think they've got about a dozen stills now. So the whole environment, the whole production environment will be different. The casks that are available to mature the whiskey will be different, so it's going to change, and that represents that change, but they're still very light, tasty, delicious, nice Highland whiskies. I wouldn't give any of them a hard time. Bauhauser, good to see you in again. Having some trouble on deciding between Balblair 90 and a Pulteney 21 suggestions. I think Rob might be in the Balblair camp. Balblair 90 is probably a bit more available and a bit cheaper than the old Pulteney just now. Balblair 90 is a kind of more classy, delicate sherry, but not a sherry bomb, just kind of sherry edged whiskey. It's very classy. The old Pulteney 21 is very rich and very complex. My recommendation is to buy both, honestly. Depends on the price. Honestly, if you're getting them at a good price, buy both. If I was only going to buy one of those, I'd buy the old Pulteney 21, because really you're not going to get much of a chance to buy that in the future, whereas the Balblair 90 should be easier to happen upon. Everyone is saying, Aqvavitae, do you think the difference is barrel related or grain related? Maybe they use a different type of malt. Exactly that. They could. I think they certainly, we've established that they do use a different type of malt, because they were using peated malt. And if they're using peated malt now, and maybe just because of the fruit, maybe because of the sugar, maybe because of the freshness of this, if there is still lightly peated malt in this, it's virtually undetectable. Toon Van Rooj is saying, Aqvavitae, is there a time when an open bottle is getting worse in quality? Yeah, I mean, I think it inevitably happens, but my collection, actually tomorrow on the Patreon account for my Patreon folk, I'll be posting a collection video, but those guys will be able to see that just the percentage of my bottles that are open, there's so many open. I'd say 75% of my bottles are open, and some of them have been open for a long time. This Glenlivet that I started with tonight, this has been open since probably 2015 or 2016, whenever this was last available, and I probably bought this at a supermarket. And you can see there's this much in it, and over time this has been very gradually over. But I poured this tonight, it's still fresh and it's still nice. Some whiskies do fail a little bit, but in my experience, I've only had that happen to me once. It was a Japanese Yamazaki Distiller's Reserve, an honest statement one, and it just went really flat. Whereas most of them change. They just change. They don't get worse. They don't necessarily get better. Often they get better, but they just change while the bottle is open. And I know that a lot of guys, Liquorhound, a guy on YouTube, he gas blankets all of his open bottles, and that guy's got hundreds and hundreds of bottles. I can understand it. But just that last week when I was watching Mark Gillespie on the Scotch Test Dummies, Mark Gillespie was saying he never gasses any, and he's got hundreds of open bottles as well. So for me, I'm happy to keep them all open, and if the whiskey changes, it's an enjoyable thing for me, and if it goes flat or goes off, I'll kind of risk that. Even the older ones, even the more delicate ones, while they have changed, I've not fallen out with any of them. Whiskey 6 is saying drinking blind is a lovely thing. Malted Man Cave gave me the opportunity to fall in love with Bunnahabhain 12. That's fantastic, Rob. I saw that he arranged that blind tasting for you with your wife. I picked up your stream. It was good fun to watch that. And of course, since the last time I was live, Keith at Malted Man Cave and I just finished our collaboration where he took the Aqvavitae blind challenge and he did 5 whiskies that I'd sent him. And I have to say, I spent a couple of days watching that video, and you'd think I'd be tired of watching it because I edited the thing. But I was watching it over and over. I just found it fascinating. And I found his push and pull as he was interrogating each of the drams. I just found it compelling to watch. I hope you guys have seen that video. Keith did a fantastic job. It's just great to watch. It's great YouTube. And I know that I was part of that, but I really enjoy it. And he's well, I won't tell you who he's nominated, but he's nominated somebody else that we all know. And I'm currently curating a set for that person. Eric is saying Aqvavitae, since wine, sherry, port, etc. vintages differ, wouldn't that necessitate that the impact on the barrels would be different and consequently the whiskey? Absolutely, of course. But is that in the context of these Glenmorangies? Because the thing about Glenmorangie is it's argued that they were the first to start using ex-bourbon barrels in Scotland in distilling. There's lots of people that were doing it before that, but they weren't coming across and by the shipload until Glenmorangie started to use ex-bourbon barrels. And in terms of the how whiskey's life, it was a fairly recent thing, and Glenmorangie is largely credited with that. They're also largely credited with wine finishing, so using maybe a sherry cask just to finish, or a French wine cask just to finish, or Madeira cask, or as we know, the Quinta and things, port casks. They're kind of credited with that as well. And that was a fairly recent thing. That was something that happened in the 90s. And then very quickly in the 90s, lots of other distilleries cottoned on to this, so that everybody's doing it now. Bruichladdich but their terminology was acing it. It was accelerated cask enhancement or something A stood for. It was just their terminology for finishing. Other distilleries were at it as well. Tomatin, Edredauer, lots of distilleries. And of course, we forget that Diageo with the Distiller's Edition has been doing that for a long time as well. The Distiller's Edition is finished. So this is 10 years in bourbon casks, Eric, to answer your question. So what we're tasting here is ex-bourbon aged whiskey with no influence, as far as I'm aware, from sherry or wine casks right now. Which is what the finishing is. La Santa is sherry cask. So it's a 12-year-old, so they take Glenmorangie 10, they age it for a little bit longer, then transfer it into a sherry cask and make La Santa, into a port cask and make Quinta Ruban, into a Sauterne cask. Is it Sauterne or Madeira? I think it's Sauterne cask to make Nectar d'Or, and that's the 3 kind of extended core range. So everything's built on that Glenmorangie original, and then the Glenmorangie actually have their own forests in what's the name of the mountain range? I always forget in the States. The Ozark Mountains in the States, and they have their own forest plantation there. They cut down the trees, they season the wood, they have the wood made into barrels, and then I think they partner with, I think it's Brown-Forman that they partner with, and Brown-Forman then lease the barrels from Glenmorangie and age bourbon in it, or perhaps if it's Brown-Forman, it could be Jack Daniels. And once they've aged their bourbon for 3, 4, 5 years, I don't know how long, those used casks will come over to Scotland, probably in a disassembled state in a shook of staves. And then they arrive in cooperages here. Maybe in some cases they come back whole. I don't know what the situation is with Glenmorangie. But they come back here and they're conditioned for use to age whiskey. That's how it works, I believe. Whiskey Throttle, time to junk the bottle. John Paul van der Hoven is saying, Aqvavitae does whiskey from an old bottle. Oh, it's jumped down. Apologise, John Paul. Let's see if I can catch that comment. As it scrolls up, it just jumps down. Does whiskey from an old bottle need to open up? Absolutely. When it's been closed that long, or would it be good to give it some? Absolutely. This is, as I said when I started to taste this older one, it's tight. It's still, on the nose, it's still a wee bit flat. But I think already it's starting to open up now. I mean, this is lovely. Mm. Smoke is so soft. This is the if you had this in a flight with any other whiskey with a bit of smoke in it, you wouldn't taste the smoke in this, I'm fairly sure. Because I'm tasting it on the back of this Glenlivet and against this modern day Glenmorangie, I think that's what's given me this impression of that smoke. But yeah, absolutely. It definitely needs to open up, John Paul. Flyer 68 is saying gassing the bottles is counterintuitive if you want the nostalgia effect. Yeah, that's right. They didn't gas bottles in the old days, so why gas them now? Well, it's kind of a heavy inert gas that they just gas into an open bottle, and it sinks down and it acts as a kind of blanket and sits on top of the spirit, as long as it's not disturbed and it's sitting there on a still shelf. So that the next time you come along and you pop that bottle and that gas dissipates as you pour it, the whiskey stays intact and fresh. Or that's the concept behind it anyway. The Scotch Test Dummies are doing a really interesting experiment, and I don't know if it's every year they're going to open up their gas bottle, and they've got controls alongside it. But their video, they did it at the end of the year last year. You should check out their video. And then every year they're going to open it and do a head-to-head to see if those guys come up with some really creative things. I thought that was a great idea. Gregor McQuee, G McQuee is saying, when does the demigod Ralphie get a nomination? Is that for the blind tasting challenge? You know, when you speak to Ralphie, because I mean, the obvious thing is for me to just say, come on, Ralphie, let's do a collaboration. But when you speak to him, it's very clear without any of that being discussed that it's not his bag. And I'm flat cam with that. I'm fine with that. And I respect him for that. I'm not going to push Ralphie to do anything that he doesn't want to do. He's made a reputation for himself by being his own guy, his own independent guy, and the industry can't touch him. I'll tell you a little anecdote. I was sitting next to Ingvar Rond. Now, Ingvar Rond is this guy. He's the guy that puts together the Malt Whisky Yearbook every year. And I was sitting next to Ingvar, which was really cool, at a masterclass. And we got chatting and we got talking about things, and it was really interesting to talk to him. But then afterwards, when I was speaking to Ralphie, Ingvar was there, he's floating around, and he just kind of walks up. And, I'm just sitting there as a spectating and participating when I could, watching Ingvar and Ralphie talking to each other. It was really, really cool. And Ingvar, his opening sentence to Ralphie was a handshake to say that the last time they had spoken was 10 years previous to that on email. And Ingvar had sent him one of the first editions of the Malt Whisky Yearbook, or said he wanted an address so that he could send him a copy to get his opinion of it. And Ralphie's response was, "Thank you very much. I really like the remit. I like the look of it. It's on Amazon. I've bought my own copy. Thank you for that." So even when it came to a free book from Ingvar, Ralphie didn't accept. He just said, "No, I'll buy my own copy. It looks good, thanks." And Ingvar was just like, he was just blown away by the guy's independence, the guy that his integrity, as he put it. So there you go. That's Ralphie, and that's just how he is. He doesn't. I'm sure he accepts drams, and I'm sure he accepts things like we all do, but everything that he's reviewed, Ralphie, has been gifted to him by a friend, I would imagine, or purchased with his own money. Of that, I've got no doubt. Daydreaming Andrew is saying, I don't gas, but once the bottle goes down to the last third, I find it's generally at its best and tend to kill it off quicker anyway. I am absolutely with you, Andrew. That's absolutely right. Whiskey Throttle saying, can you read Gaelic? Is so you can translate this on a bottle? No, I can't. Cool na Kraken. No, don't know what that is. There's less than 2.5% of the Scottish population speak Gaelic as a first language, and not much more than that know it as a second language. We've been completely anglicised. We all speak English in Scotland now. Although there is a kind of revival in Gaelic. There's a Gaelic whisky school in Glasgow doing very well. There's a Gaelic whisky college in the Isle of Skye. Those are the guys that I use to help me do the pronunciation videos. So yeah, there is a kind of Gaelic revival, but it's pretty tough to read until you learn the phonetics, I would guess. Aqvavitae from Travis is saying, Travis Soders. The thing about that is most distilleries get their barrels from Independent Stave Co., which is centered in, is that Missouri? I think probably you're right. Very few barrels, but ex-bourbon barrels, or not, let's say not all bourbon barrels arrive at the distillery with any kind of provenance. A lot of them have, as you say, Travis, been through a cooperage. So for bourbon only aged, the impact, as Eric, might be dependent on whether the barrel was from the top, middle, or bottom of the rickhouse. Absolutely. And how the wood behaves with the whiskey, independent of where it is in the warehouse. If it's from the north-facing side of the mountain versus the south-facing side, how fast it grows, how knotted it is, all of these things. I mean, I just to try and make whiskey consistent must be just such a headache. Malton Man Cave is saying, thanks, Roy. You're very welcome, Keith, and it's nice to have you in. Thanks for joining me. You've probably just finished work. Okay, I'm probably, wow, I've done nothing. I wanted to talk about World Women's Day or International Women's Day. These Thursday nights have always kind of landed on a kind of celebration. I managed to get St Andrew's Day, I got Burns Night, I got International Scotch Day, and it's kind of cool. And today is obviously International Women's Day. And we spoke a few weeks ago about Diageo, an International Scotch Day. And we talked about Johnnie Walker and the fact that they were bringing out Jane Walker. And I said at the time that obviously Diageo would have to be absolutely on point with the marketing in order to pull that off successfully. Because people don't need gender-specific things. So if it's marketed or if it's received as a gender-specific thing, it's going to fall apart, right? But if it's something that's launched to celebrate something and to draw attention to something, and if that's explained, then that's probably a good thing. And to draw attention to, gender gap and inequality in gender and things like that is a positive thing. And the reason I believe that is that my girls I've got twin girls who are 10 years old. And the idea that their future could be in some way compromised, or they don't have the same opportunities open to them because they're not boys, is just unthinkable to me. But I know that that's fact, and I know that it exists, and I know that it always has existed, but it doesn't need to continue. And obviously, we just need to adapt our attitudes and what's possible in order to change that. So Diageo had the right idea, and they put out a lot of videos on their own YouTube channel with women from inside their companies, inside the Diageo group, telling their story of their life as a woman and their careers and things. So they're obviously very, very equal opportunities orientated. They're obviously very focused on gender equality. And what a disastrous misfire the way they've handled this whole Jane Walker thing. There's 250,000 bottles of this whiskey out there. And the cynics are saying that, that it's just a great way for them to take a Johnnie Walker Black, relabel it, and it'll fly off the shelves because of the controversy. But that's a stupid attitude, and I don't think Diageo have done that at all. It's 250,000 bottles of Johnnie Walker. I mean, how much? That's not even a drop in the ocean for Diageo, nothing. And how they're harming their reputation right now by seen as you know, clumsy is about the nicest word you could say about it, is harming them much, much more than any kind of money they're going to make from selling Jane Walker. But I think Jane Walker will sell, and it will end up being picked up by a lot of collectors. I don't think it's going to get picked up by women who are intimidated by Scotch whisky. If you're intimidated by Scotch whisky, it's not because you're a woman. It's because it's Scotch whisky, or it's because it's whisky, any kind of whisky scene. It's intimidating if you don't know much about it. If you're standing outside of the bubble and you haven't stepped in yet, taking that first step can be difficult. Like any subject, like wine, I guess, would be very similar. Or so many things that you can get into that you don't want to be seen to be ignorant or clumsy. So yeah, everybody's kind of having a go at Diageo right now. And I mean, just quite rightly so. I mean, if you're going to try and market something that is not aimed at one gender, don't bring gender into it. Just don't. It's patronizing as hell. I don't want anything aimed at me. There's a new glass out called the Highlander glass, and it's made by Swarovski, which is an Austrian crystal company, very famous the world over. But Luxor, the company that's made this glass, a Swarovski glass, it looks like a slightly fatter Glencairn, and it's on a very short stem. So a nice big stand and a short stem. But there's some kind of marketing going on where they're calling it the Highlander, but they're marketing it as a lady's whiskey glass. I want to buy that glass. It looks cool to me. I might like to try that. I don't want it to be a lady's glass. And I guarantee you any women out there who are drinking whiskey don't want it to be a lady's glass either. That's just absurd. I think this Glencairn is probably a perfect example of form. There is nothing overly feminine about it, and yet it does have a feminine shape. It's nice. It's a nice shape. It's pleasant to look at. But this chunky base and the strength of the glass in your hand and the weight of it kind of gives it some kind of masculine qualities as well. I think it's a perfect balance. And nobody should consider their gender when they pick up a glass to drink something. Or that's just, maybe I'm silly. Gregor is saying, time to buy those Janes as a moment in time. Yes, you're probably absolutely right. Anyone remember who had a commercial for whiskey and they got in big trouble? Whiskey Throttle? No, but it sounds like a quiz question to me. Jason, do we have any participants for the quiz? Send me, Jason, a wee list if we have. Wow, I've just had a donation in from my supporter and friend Chris Santa Cruzan. Thank you so much. Great bringing us all together, Roy. Well, I'm kind of realizing that that's what it is, and this is a question that I want to ask you guys as well. Thank you so much, Chris. Very, very generous of you as ever. You're a wonderful and generous guy. Swami's in Malted, Montreal. Good to have you in, Swami. Raster, I think I gave you a shout out earlier, Raster. I haven't seen you around in quite a wee while. It's nice to welcome you back, my friend. But that's the thing, is that I'm kind of sitting here just monologuing right now and maybe interrupting. Maybe you guys are happy just in your chatting amongst yourselves. There's 100 it's the peak is 120. I don't know how many's in now. There's a lot of you, so the chat could be difficult, right? But maybe that's the fun part. So is it better that there's something else going on in the video, that it's not me monologuing to you or interacting with you and you want to just hang out with each other? Or do you like the balance between having a guest, an interview scenario going on, and then a bit of quiz or things? What is it that you actually enjoy? What do you prefer? Toon van Rooj is asking Aqvavitae about Johnny Walker. Now in the Netherlands, you can buy JW Blue for €99. Is that worth the price, or are you only paying for the name? The quality of Johnny Walker Blue is not in doubt. The quality of the malts that's in Johnny Walker Blue is not in doubt. Even the grain that's in Johnny Walker Blue. Obviously, it's no age statement. My problem with Johnny Walker Blue is, yes, it's an expensive whiskey. And for me, it doesn't hold a lot of interest because I find it tasty and delicious, but a bit soft because it's presented for not us. It's not presented for whiskey enthusiasts or whiskey geeks. 40% whiskey for us is a starter whiskey. It's something to get the flight going. It's something to get our palates in the right place most of the time. And I don't want to use Johnnie Walker Blue as a calibrator. It's too damn expensive for that. So I wouldn't buy Johnnie Walker Blue because there is literally 1,001 bottles ahead of Johnnie Walker Blue at that price that I would want to buy. But it's damn good whiskey, and if you're ever offered a Johnnie Walker Blue, sit with it and savour it because the quality is not in doubt. Mikey Hay is saying, Aqvavitae, your monologues are all great, so never stop them. Guests are fantastic, but I wouldn't necessarily want a guest every single time. Well, that's kind of what I've done. I've kind of opted for this. And this is like a bonus stream tonight because really the first slot should be a guest. The first one of the month should be a guest one. But this is a 5 Thursday month. So, there was 2 Thursdays that I could have gone live. And I spoke to my wife and she suggested that I do both. And she's absolutely right. That's the right thing to do. So next week I'll have a guest. And I'll let you know who that guest is. But it's looking good that the guest that's going to join me next week is actually in the chat tonight. And I'm really excited about hanging out with them and bringing them to you guys and introducing them to you, because what these guys are doing is different. And I like them a lot. Travis is saying, Aqvavitae, I like the balance. I can always watch this again if I get engaged in conversation. That's a very good point, Travis. You're absolutely right. George is saying, it's your insight I think we enjoy the most, as this is much cheaper than buying a flight to pop. Aha. Okay, that's good. And just like I've said in a previous streams, it comes from a genuine place. It's based on my experience. As long as people understand that I am not an expert, I'm just somebody who really, really enjoys whiskey. Gary's Whiskey Reviews is saying, I like chatting with the community and interacting with Aqvavitae. Fantastic, Gary. That's exactly what I get out of it as well. Tom Arzen, fantastic, Tom. Good to see you. What do you think about the new Compass bottle they introduced today? Was that Compass box, maybe? Compass bottle. I don't know what that is, Tom. Is that Compass box? And I didn't see a new Compass box introduced today. Is that the Hedonism Muse? Was that out? Did that come out today? Jay Fretless, good to see you in, Jay Fretless, again. Good to welcome you back. Monologue and the occasional guest is great. So, okay, the way I'm going to play it with you then is that if I am becoming too monologue-y, just give me feedback. Just tell me. The idea is that I'm just like a host. I'm just literally opening my door and you guys are piling into my house and just hanging out. Unfortunately, like I've said before, it's like you have to bring your own booze. But that's the idea, that the community kind of comes together. But I like to keep a little bit of focus. So I kind of some themes, something that at least I can talk about. And then I like the quiz. I enjoy the quiz a lot because I don't have to take the quiz. And I enjoy hanging out with guests from time to time. So let's just keep it at that for now. And as soon as it offends, or if you feel inspired to guide me in some direction, I look forward to your feedback. DDIY Network, or DDIY Network. Aqvavitae pouring Deanston 10 PX cask strength. Cheers. Wow, you see that 10-year-old PX, the cask strength version? I don't think that was released for us. I think that was an export market only edition. I hope you're loving it. I hope it's delicious. Drinking Caveman Charles. Welcome in, Charles. Fantastic to see you. Guests are great, but spreading them out there like you do is good fun. Also good to see a UK opinion on whiskies. Yeah. The way we view the whiskey landscape is driven very firmly by where we are located and the whiskies that's available to us. I noticed the content coming from the US is very brand focused. It's very brand orientated, and that's not a decision that they've made. It's a product of their distribution network. It's difficult in the majority of US states, for example, and to be honest, in Canada as well, to have a decent selection of independent bottlers. And I'm grateful for that, because it means that there's still some stock left here. Look at what's happened to Springbank, for crying out loud. You guys are able to walk in and pick up a Springbank, even some of the limited releases from Springbank. And we are literally fighting each other over them here. We've got to put our names on lists and hope that we get a phone call and things like that for some of them. Travis is saying, I love that you're asking us our opinion, but you have 110 people watching. You are doing something right. Yes. If I could figure out what it is, Travis, that would be awesome, because I would do more of it. But having said that, if the chat got much busier than this, I think I would find a way to switch it up, because I'm enjoying this feeling. I'm enjoying this sense of community. I'm enjoying that the people can get their voices heard, that the chat isn't just literally zipping past. But at the same time, it's not kind of sleepy and stagnant. It's just at a nice pace that we can keep tabs on it, especially when I've got buddies like Jason helping me out. But if that changed, I would find ways to switch it out. One of the things I'm going to do, and I hope that you're interested, is that I have also, I'm really, really blessed to have patrons, and I now have, as of today, I have 28 of you supporting me, and that's only in a month. It's just wonderful, and I want to find a way to pay you back. And I want to try and arrange some exclusive hangouts for patrons, if you want to do that, because if I'm only doing one live every other week, that kind of means that there's going to be the occasional middle week that I don't have commitments elsewhere, and I could set up a private hangout that would be for patrons only, and then we could have people coming on the video call, and it's never going to be out there on YouTube land. It's just going to be a private video for you guys, and we can have a much more relaxed hangout, for example. That's just an idea. See how my patrons feel about that. Welsh Toro saying it's the beard. You can't call this a beard, but I'll take that as a compliment, Welsh, my friend. Whiskey Throttle, Jason is doing a great job in between scratching bug bites, lol. Yeah, my friend Jason is just back from a trip to India. I think he found it difficult being isolated from whiskey for so long, and his family trying to marry him off as quickly as they possibly could. And now he's hitting a flight of Taliskers to make up for it. So fair play to Jason. Jason is pointing out some comments that I've missed. T Green, there's a new name. Welcome in. Roy, why is the ABV less in Europe than, say, the States? Oh, that's a historical thing. So our standard whiskey bottlings, blends, malts, anything was always 40% ABV. That was just the European strength or the UK strength. It was just 40% ABV. But export strength, and I used to know this, I used to know why. Export strength has been typically a minimum of 43%. Now, we do export to the States and to Canada at 40%, but the majority of the time, if you look at Highland Park, you get 40% Highland Parks here, and they go to the States as 43% Highland Parks and Lafroigs and lots of other ones. So you do see some discrepancies. I've just had a donation in from my friend Alan Wilson. Alan, thank you so much. There is no comment there, Alan. You should have taken the opportunity to say or ask something. I would certainly have not missed it. That's wonderful of you to support me in this way. Thank you so much. But yeah, we just refer to 43% as export strength, and that's what it is. It's a bummer because, you know, guys in the States just get standard Lafroig 10 at 43, and if I buy a Lafroig 10 here, it's 40%. It's a bit of a pain. Toon Van Rooj is saying, quiz, please. Toon, can you tell me if you want to participate in the quiz? If you want to... Okay, none just asking Whiskey Throttle, can you read Gaelic? Okay, I think, Jason, I'm up to date with the comments. Welsh is saying you do a great job. Thank you very much, Welsh. Whiskey Throttle, but in the USA they get 43 and we only get 40. So you're in Canada, Daniel, aren't you? Of course. That's true. New Macallans, Balvenis, Glenfiddich, in the States, they get export strength, whereas in Canada, so export strength doesn't mean that everything we export is higher strength, but it seems to be export strength to the USA. It's a bummer. It's a pain in the ass. Gregor McQueen is saying, Whiskey Vault recently encouraged a dry week every quarter. Enjoying responsibly is a good thing, absolutely. On my flight to Vietnam, the air hostess asked me to slow down upon my 6th dram on the plane. Well, I'm sure the stewardess had a very deep insight of your capability to get through 6 drams, right, Gregor? I would say that I find that more of a thing recently when I'm involved in the YouTube thing and I'm researching whiskey and I'm reading about whiskey all the time. I find that it puts me in the mood for whiskey more often than it has done in the past, and it needs a wee bit of willpower to have nights off. A week off every quarter, that's a good idea as well. However you want to work it, just a way to let yourself. And it also helps your whiskey experiences as well, because when you come back after a break, you're ready for it. Your palate's been reset again and you're starting to taste things a wee bit better again. That's in my experience, at least. Travis is saying the issue of, in the States, we get taxed on ABV. I think that's one reason we get more. Well, it could be. It's one of the reasons that you don't get a lot of cast strength product here. And when you do get cast strength product, you've got to pay through the nose for it because you're taxed heavily on the higher strength stuff. Drinking Caveman is saying, we'll be doing a live show today on the Jane Walker with a female Instagram person. Fantastic, Charles. Hope to see you both there and everyone. Okay, well, I wonder how the timing's going to be, Charles. Is that today? Later on, Thursday night, 2:30 in the morning European time. So I guess for you guys, that's going to be about 9:30 p.m. US, Eastern US time, I think. The Scotch for Dummies have their live as well. So it'll be interesting to see what time you're going out at, Charles. But that's cool that you've done that on International Women's Day and that you've got somebody to get her take on it. It would be interesting to see if she is a wee bit annoyed, offended, or if she's quite cool with it. Because let's give Diageo their due. They're selling it at the same price and they're taking £1 from every bottle. So it's £250,000 that they're going to donate to gender equality concerns. Now people are saying, you know, oh, they're only giving £1. They're going to make £250,000, or they're going to sell 250,000 bottles, and they're only given £1 from each bottle. Well, they didn't have to give anything. They're selling their whiskey. They've rebranded it. It's probably cost them a bunch of money to promote it and things, and they're giving a cut. And I guarantee you that even if Johnny Walker sells each of those for $50 and they give away $1.50, Diageo, Johnny Walker, they don't get anything like $50. They'll get closer to $12 or $15. I don't know. So I think it's a much bigger proportion than people are making out. And like I say, they didn't have to do anything. So the fact that they're giving £250,000 to charity from the sale, I think is cool. It's just the way they've handled it is just clumsy as hell. Whiskey, Daniel is saying, but then they would want it lower in the USA. Yeah, I find that as I get into whiskey, and I think everybody or a majority of people agree with me, that as you get into whiskey, you do start to kind of find that 43, 46, 48% whiskies carry a bit more grip and engagement, and it can down at 40%. There are not all whiskies. There are a lot of whiskies out there that can taste a wee bit thin at 40%, and that's normal. Now you can take a break from whiskey for a while, as we're suggesting, and come back and start to enjoy the 40% stuff again. But once you get a taste for whiskey that's close to straight from the barrel, you know, as close from the cask as it can be, cask strength whiskey, unchill filtered, natural presentation, and you get that grip, that explosion of flavor, that texture, that is just utterly wonderful. And I mentioned this in a comment recently, and I don't remember where I mentioned it, but somebody was talking about they don't enjoy whiskies more than 43 or 45%. And I understand that completely. When I first started to drink whiskey, 40% whiskey was already powerful enough. Thank you very much. But that changed quicker than I imagined it would. And if you need any convincing about how a higher ABV can completely change the engagement prospect and the flavour prospect. Try an Elijah Craig. Try an Elijah Craig New Non-Age Statement 1 or a 12-year-old alongside an Elijah Craig barrel proof. It's the same stuff. One's at barrel proof and one is not. And try them alongside each other. And then you realise just how much more the barrel proof has to offer. Not least because you can take a wee bit of water with a dropper and bring it down and bring it down and bring it down and have layered experiences with it. Whereas the standard, you can't make the standard one stronger, but you can make the barrel proof lighter. Okay, Jason, do we have a quiz? What time are we at? It's almost over an hour and 15 minutes in. So we want to start getting set up for the quiz. Is there anybody else now? I noticed Connor's either been quiet, but I did notice him in earlier. I think we've got Toon. Let's see if Toon Van Rooj has commented that he's interested in doing the quiz. Now, I should set this up in advance, but yeah, let's go. Good, Toon. Fantastic to welcome you in. So all I need is one name, unless Jason's found one already, that's willing to go head-to-head against my friend in the Netherlands, Toon Van Rooj, to see if we can get a bit of quiz on the go. There may or may not be Whiskey Rev questions in the quiz. So who can we have? Drinking Caveman, here to help if you need it. Are you talking about the quiz, Charles, or are you talking about something else with Jason? Jason is saying, I think we are ready. Anyone fancy taking part in the quiz? I'm just going to, there's lots of people that completely would be happy. I know that Travis Soders, Hoagie Bear, Connor has just appeared. Oh dear, not Rev questions. Connor would probably be happy to step up. Triple Cap, Walt, my friend, fantastic, you're here. Super to see you in, buddy. You finally made it to a live. I know that the timing is difficult for you, but it's good to welcome you here. Now, Walt, would it be a baptism of fire to suggest that you could participate in our quiz? I don't know if you've ever watched these after the event, Walt, but usually we finish the show with a 10-question quiz. There are no prizes. It's just for fun. But it would be good to have. And there's Jason. I've not noticed a malt or a Whiskey Rover or Jason malt review is in. Good to have you. Good to welcome you. That's the first I've seen you pop up. I don't know if you've just arrived a wee bit late, my friend. I'm looking forward to meeting you on Saturday. I've managed to book up quite a few festivals. And I've booked up the Falkirk Festival, the Stirling Festival, the Edinburgh Whiskey Lounge Festival. I'm really excited that a friend of mine is coming over from California, and we're going to take a flight over to Isla for a few days and make a long weekend out of it just to catch the tail of the Fisheel Festival at the end of May. I'm really excited about that. I can't believe I'm getting to do that this year. I know that the Fisheel is manic and crazy and busy, but I don't care. I'm looking forward to going over there. And this Saturday, I'm going to the Fife Whiskey Festival with our local whiskey club, and hopefully I'll get a chance to finally meet Malt Review Jason. Okay. Hoagie Bear is saying, what? No consolation collection to win in a bottle. Let's go convene. Travis saying, all my drams I poured are empty and glasses are dirty. Well, a wee bit of whiskey will clean those glasses up nicely, Travis. So you just have to make a short commute to your whiskey cabinet and you'll be in good shape again. Jason's asking me if I'm going to Fife. Yes, I'm going to the Fife Whiskey Festival on Saturday. Are you coming up, Jason? I'd be surprised if you were coming up. There's too many Jasons, right? There's at least 3 or 4 Jasons in here tonight. JasonWhiskyWise, Jason, who's Malt Review, Whiskey Jason. Right. Here we go. Have we got somebody else in? Floydian 06 and Hoagie. Okay, Floydian, that's a new name, isn't it? And Hoagie has certainly competed and done very, very well in the quiz before. If you need a quizzer, fantastic, Hoagie. So you've put your name forward. Floydian, as a newbie in here, I hope you have maybe caught one of the replays or something before, and you know what you're in for. But that would be fantastic if I could welcome you guys in. And all I'm doing here is he's saying, Floydian's saying, second live stream. I apologize if I've seen you before and not mentioned you, or I just don't recognize. But first quiz. Okay, it's 10 questions. Some of them are quite easy. Most of them are kind of around the middle of the road, and a couple of them, usually by the Whiskey Rev, are kind of rock hard, but it's just for fun. And the idea is that you shouldn't be able to be Connor Strang and score 10 out of 10, that you should be able to take something and learn something from it. And sometimes not necessarily just about whiskey and distilleries, but about maybe production or people in whiskey or even YouTube channels and things like that. Okay, so I'm going to try something different, which means it's inevitably going to fail. I'm going to try to I'm going to try to let you see the questions. So let's see if this works. If I was to switch to this quickly. Nah, it's fiddly as hell. But you might be able to see the questions. Oh, we don't want that. Let me see if I can get it to go into presentation. I guess you can perhaps see that, right? It says, just give us the 3, 2, 1. You'll still have the 3, 2, 1. Showing the questions. Superb. You can see, okay, I can't get it to present. I can't get it to fill the screen for some reason, which is a shame, because that would have been cool. But hey-ho. Let's do the best we can. So you can see the first question already. So you've had a lot of time to consider that. So let's just kick it off. We're taking scores from Toon Van Rooj and Floydian 06. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. And see how we got on. Thank you very much, Hoagie, for putting your name forward. But the theme tonight on this quiz is going to have a few questions in there to commemorate the fact that it's World Women's or International Women's Day. So there's some questions pointing in that direction in here. Janet Sheed Roberts was one of Scotland's oldest women. With which distilling family is she associated? So it's probably been pouring in. So let's just have a 3, 2, 1 and throw in your answers. And I'm going to need to go looking for Toon and Floydian's answers and see if it switches back to me while I do that. This is fiddly as hell. There's a lot to be said for learning OBS, to be honest with you. Okay, are the questions coming in? Toon Van Rooj has got his question in. Fantastic. We have a Whiskey Throttle is saying Duffton. Tony Evans is saying Glenfiddich. James Hope, Glenfiddich. Whiskey Throttle, Dufftown. Connor Strang, the Grants, Glenfiddich. Toon Van Rouge said Glenfiddich. I'm looking for Floydian's answer. He's saying Grant. George Kaplan, Glenfiddich. Hoagie Bear is saying read the answer by chance. No contest for me, but would not have known. Did I show you the answer? Did I spell? Fife, home of Ian Rankin. That's absolutely right, Hoyt. The answers are on the next slide, and you can see the thumbnail. I see it. That's the flaw. We have a flaw in my... Because I can't present these, you guys are going to see that. Can I shrink that down? Can I shrink the size? No. That's a shame. I hoped that that would work. So what I'm going to have to try and do then is make that bigger in the hope that it can be smaller. Anyway, has Floydian has answered. He's said Grant, and Toon Van Rouge said Glenfiddich. Well, the question, honestly, was which distilling family is she associated? And Glenfiddich is a brand and a distillery. The answer I was looking for was the Grant family, which is Glenfiddich. So what I'll do is I will give Toon a soft point for that. That means that if it's in a draw, he has to defer to his opponent. But I'll give you both a mark for that. Now, some people might think that that's a bit unfair, that it's wrong and it should just be the Grant family. But I had already formulated in advance that if somebody was going to answer Glenfiddich, that I would accept that. Duffton, no. It has to be Glenfiddich or Grant. So let's try this one more time. If I skip to the next one. And by the way, these presentations, these quizzes, I'll link them in the description afterwards so that if you decide that you want to use them or access them after the event, you can click on the link and get hold of you can even download them if you want, I guess, if you're ever going to use it. So let's try this. I don't think you can read this now. You can't read the answers now. I'll make it even bigger if I can and see if that helps more. Surely that has foxed you from reading the answers. Anyway, what is widely accepted to be Scotland's oldest distillery in production? And the key there is that it's the distillery that is still in production. It's not the oldest distillery that's long since gone. It has to be the one that is still in production. 3, 2, 1. Throw your answers in when you're ready. JasonWhiskyWise putting in a question 2 and a line that's inspired, my friend. Thank you. It certainly helps me visually. Bamore. Dwayne Large is saying Bamore. Hoagie is saying Bamore. Welsh Toro is saying Glenlivet. James Hope is saying Glenturret. Raster is saying correct. Can't see answers. Way too small. Fantastic. Welsh Toro is saying Glenlivet. Santa Cruz and Glenfarclas. Connor Strang, Glenturret. Malt Review, Glenturret. Cian O'Hara, Glenfarclas. Floydian is saying Ardbeg. He looks like he's guessing at Ardbeg. So if I look for my friend Toon to come in. Somebody's offering me help on OBS. Yeah. I'd worked it out last year, but when I started these lives, I kind of wanted to keep it as simple as I could. I didn't want to bring too much pressure on myself. But yeah, for things like this, it could help a lot. Toon is saying Glenturret. Triple Cap is saying Highland Park, run by Vikings in the 12th century. Yeah, that's true. So it's widely accepted that the oldest distillery, now, I mean, this is obviously constantly in flux and debate, but it's widely accepted, as so many of you answered, that it is, in fact, Glenturret. So Toon got that correct, while Floydian guessed Ardbeg. So Toon moves into a soft lead. Good. Let's go over to question 3. Question 3. The movie Angel's Share by Ken Loach used which distillery as the backdrop for the heist scenes? So this was a movie a few years ago, fantastic movie based around here. In fact, the final scene of that movie is actually filmed outside my house. There you go. I've got a very tenuous connection to that movie. But the heist scenes where they actually where they actually steal what's supposedly a cask of malt mill, or they steal some of the contents from it, is at a specific distillery. Which distillery was that? 3, 2, 1. Throw your answers in when you're ready. Got the Glen bit right, Keane is saying. Is that worth half a point? Very good. Very good. Interesting. Okay. Alan Wilson is saying Balblair. These quizzes are better than blockbusters. Thank you, Gregor. And that's saying something. James Hope is saying Deanston. Welsh Torres is saying Balblair. Jean-Paul van der Hoven is saying Deanston. Santa Cruzan is saying Balvenie. Tony Evans, Balblair. Malt Reviews, Balblair. Dwayne Large is Balblair. Whiskey Wolf, Deanston. Oh, all over the place. Connor is saying Balblair, but some were also filmed at Deanston, so not sure which scenes. Balblair. So I'm looking for Toon is saying Balblair, and Floydian is saying Balblair. I wonder if you guys would be honest enough to say that you waited on the. Fine, perfect. You both are correct. The heist scenes were filmed with Balblair as the backdrop, and yes, some scenes were filmed at Deanston inside the distillery, I believe. But the heist scene specifically I was looking for was, in fact, Balblair. Fantastic movie. If you've not watched The Angel's Share by Ken Loach, and for you guys in the States, they'll probably do subtitled version because it's very Scottish. It's thick Scottish accents. It's a good movie to watch. Okay. Question 4. What is the name of the master distiller currently in Glendronach? The master distiller currently at Glendronach. 3, 2, 1, go ahead. Now, obviously, this master distiller is employed by Brown-Forman now, so they're also in charge of Benriach and Glenglassaugh. Whiskey maker, master distiller, whatever you want to call them. Who are they? Question 4. This line that they're putting in here, Jason, just makes it so much easier for me. Fantastic. Welsh Taurus saying Gordon Brown. Jason is saying Rachel Barry. Cian doesn't know. John Paul van der Hoven is saying Nanny McPhee. Floydian is saying he has no idea. Tony Evans, no idea. Wow, a lot of people don't know. Connor Strang, Rachel Barry. Wilbur, legend Billy Dunn playing chess. Oh dear, Hoagie. Toon Van Rouge, Eric Waite. So Eric, thank you for joining us tonight. I hope you have success with your internet connection. It's very important these days. Thanks for joining. I'll see you later, my friend. James is saying Billy Walker. Hoyt Hemphill is saying Glengoyne. A Malt Review, Rachel Barry, Killer of Lefroy, Whiskey Throttle, Billy Walker. Okay, and Santa Cruzan's going with Welsh Toro. Okay, so I need to find my friend. Toon Van Rouge has admitted he doesn't know. Floydian, what have you submitted? Did I miss your answer? I think I've missed you, Floydian, my friend. Did you answer? Or are you going to just pull from the crowd? No answer. If you don't know the answer, give me a question mark. Or just say don't know. But throw some. Oh, he has. He has. I'm sorry. I can see that you have answered. I apologise. And he's saying he has no idea. So neither of you know that it was, in fact, Rachel Barry. A lot of the crowd, a lot of the people know exactly that it was Rachel Barry. And she was with Bamor, Auchentoshan previously, but now she has moved over to Glenglass or Glendronach and Benriach. Okay, question 5. Which YouTube channel featured the first ever recorded whiskygasm? And this is a kind of out there question. While tasting a Glengoyne 25-year-old. I always try and fit in a whiskey tube flavoured question. Which YouTube channel featured the first ever recorded whiskygasm while tasting a Glengoyne 25-year-old? Now, what this centred around, if you know it, just 3, 2, 1, throw it in. This centred around somebody tasting the Glengoyne 25 and forgot, I guess, for a second that they were on camera. And it's just a wonderful moment to watch. And for anybody who's into whiskey, for anybody that loves whiskey, they can relate. They can relate to what you witness. It's kind of cool. Let's see if Jason's given me the line. Question 5, fantastic. I'm looking for Toon. We've got Connor saying Scotch for Dummies, Scotch for Dummies, Scotch for Dummies, S4D, STDs, S4Ds. S4Ds. Toon Van Reach is saying Scotch for Dummies. Floydian is saying Whiskey Tribe. All the answers are in. Yes, Floydian, Whiskey Tribe, I would have accepted that. Whiskey Vault is fine. Scotch for Dummies. Okay. Creel, welcome back. Creel is saying Red Tube. It was the Scotch for Dummies. It wasn't the Whiskey Vault, unfortunately, Floydian. So it was Scotch for Dummies, and it was Sean from the Scotch for Dummies that had this on-screen whiskey orgasm. And I'm a wee bit biased there because it was actually a sample that I'd given to them. And I was really, really chuffed to see it received in that way. It was fantastic. A few of them actually said it was perhaps the best whiskey they'd tried that year, which is kind of cool too. But they'd been at a Compass Box tasting that day. And I think that whiskey, that moment that they sipped that dram just hit them at the exact right moment. But you should watch it because it's just their Glengoyne 25 review. Watch it. It's wonderful to watch. Okay, let's see, what screen am I on just now? Let's move to question 6. This is a slightly tricky one. Which of the following distilleries was a malt distillery? And what I mean is opposed to anything else, such as a grain distillery. Which of the following distilleries was a malt distillery? Port Dundas, Imperial, or Cambus? So just hit A, B, or C. 3, 2, 1. Give me your answers. Which of the following was a malt distillery? A for Port Dundas, B for Imperial, and C for Cambus. Only one of those distilled malt. John Paul Vanderhoven is saying C. James Hope is saying Imperial. Whiskey Wolf is saying Imperial. Whiskey Jason. Connor Strang. Whiskey Throttle. Jason Klesholt. Nice to see you in, Jason. Triple Cap are all saying B. Kian is saying guess A. Floydian has said C. Dwayne is saying A. Sid Martin is saying B. Good to see you in, Sid. I've just spotted you there. Stephen Grimes, welcome, is saying A. Maltland, good to see you in as well, is saying B. I need to find Toon. Where are you, Toon? Are you Googling? Toon is saying A. Okay. Floydian has said C. Toon is saying A. So you've gone. But as so many are guessing, it is actually B. B. Imperial was a single malt distillery that closed in the early 90s, I think. and has since long been demolished. So as we complete question 6, Toon is on 4, or 3.5, I guess, against Floydian's 2. As we move on to question 7. Question 7. Ethel Greig Robertson founded the Robertson Trust, which is Scotland's largest charitable trust. Nowadays, it's Scotland's largest charitable trust. Which whisky company does it own? Which whisky company is owned by the Robertson Trust? If you think you know, then I'll accept a couple of answers for this if I'm honest. I'm not going to be too uptight about this. But after 3, 2, 1, go ahead. Connor is saying Diageo. Whiskey Jason is saying Macallan. George Kaplan doesn't know. Jason is saying Macallan. Sid Martin is saying Macallan. My wife, who's currently in Liverpool, is saying Highland Park. Right. That's crazy that my wife has to join me on a live for us to hook up. Whiskey Winks is saying no clue. Keen O'Hara, Edrington. Whiskey Wolf doesn't know. Floydian is saying Edrington. Steve Grimes is also saying Edrington. Toon is saying Macallan. Okay. Toon, I'm going to give you a half a point because your challenger, Floydian, said Edrington Group, which is absolutely the right answer. So the whiskey company is Edrington, and Edrington own Glenrothes, Macallan, and Highland Park. Do they still own Glenturret, or is that long since gone? I don't know. I don't know who owns Glenturret now, but they used to own Glenturret up until fairly recently. Maybe they still do. And that is the answer I was looking for. Of course, I was going to accept Highland Park because the Robertson Group, by default, own Highland Park and Macallan. So I was going to accept those ones as well. So yes, a soft point for Toon and a point for Floydian. Well done. Move over to question 8. And question 8 is, Wolfburn became the furthest north distillery on the Scottish mainland. Pipped Old Pulteney, Pulteney Distillery, which used to be. But which is the furthest south? Which distillery is the furthest south on the Scottish mainland? 3, 2, 1, give me your answers. Which distillery is furthest south on the Scottish mainland? This Glenmorangie from the early 90s is showing a clean pair of heels to the modern one. It's much, much, much better. JasonWhiskyWise in question 8. Welsh is saying Auchentoshan. Oliver Travis, good to see you, Oliver. He's saying Ailsa Bay. Alan Wilson is saying Bladnoch. Tony Evans is saying Bladnoch. Whiskey Jason is saying Glen Scotia. Cian is saying Auchentoshan. Bladnoch, James Hope. Jason Klesholt is saying Auchentoshan. Right, okay, what is Toon is saying Bladnoch. Connor Strang is saying Strathclyde. Floydian, where are you, my friend? Are you Googling? Oh no, you're there. I think I'm missing your little icon. He's saying Auchentoshan. Unfortunately, Floydian Auchentoshan is not the furthest south, and more unfortunately for you, but fortunate for Toon, Bladnoch is the furthest south. So well done. Well done. So we have a winner, but I think we'll play this out. We'll see this through to the end. for sportsmanship's sake. What is the name of the new distillery in the town of Ellen in Aberdeenshire and owned by Brewdog? Now, Brewdog is a beer company, a Scottish beer company that's kind of took over the world recently by making craft beers, really quite tasty stuff. But they've now got a distillery that's in production. One of my friends from the Whisky Club is now working there, and which is quite cool, but it's a small distillery in the town of Ellen in Aberdeenshire. What is the name of the distillery? Brand new distillery in Aberdeen, very small. I'm going to be doing all sorts of maverick experimental stuff, no doubt. 3, 2, 1. What's the name of the distillery? Somebody's saying, damn, second on the list is Ailsa Bay. I think Annandale. Annandale has got to be the second furthest south, surely. I'm not sure, though. John Paul van der Hoven doesn't know. James Hope is saying Lone Wolf. Connor Strang is saying Lone Wolf. Eric Waite, still waiting for his technician, has said Starbucks. Chris is saying Ardnahoe or something, lol. Good. Glenn Brewdog, Kino Hara, superb. John Paul van der Hoven doesn't know. Santa Cruz, no idea whatsoever. Toon is saying Brewdog. Travis is saying Lone Wolf. So I am again looking for Floydian. I'll go with the crowd. Lone Wolf. Good man, you get that point. It's absolutely acceptable because it's what happens here every week, it seems. And we have a winner anyway, so it doesn't matter too much. Okay, let's hit up question 10. Let's take it home. This is an interesting one, and it's based around a story that I absolutely love. Question 10. With which whiskey-producing nation is Rita Cowan of Kirkintilloch associated? Now, just to explain, Kirkintilloch is a town just outside of Glasgow, ever so slightly northeast of Glasgow. And this woman, Rita Cowan, was born there, but she's far more famous for another whiskey-producing nation that is not Scotland. After 3, 2, 1, which is it? Which whiskey-producing nation is Rita Cowan of Kirkintilloch fame associated with? And the story behind this is wonderful. Whiskey Wolf, is some answers pouring in already. Superb. Superb. So I've got an answer in already from Freudian and Toon Van Rooj. If we go down the list here, we can see Whiskey Wolf is saying Ireland, James Hope is saying Canada, John Paul van der Hoven is saying Ireland, Keno Hara is saying Wales, Michael Hay, Canada, Joel Shore is saying Christ Almighty, Australia, Floydian is saying Ireland, Toon Van Rooj is saying Japanese, Travis is saying Ireland, Stephen Grimes is saying Japan. Hey, Stephen. Oliver is saying Japan, Jason is saying Canada, Dwayne is saying Nika. So yeah, I guess you mean Japan then. Is it just me or are these getting harder? Santa Cruz and Chris. Oh, I don't know, buddy. You feedback to me. You let me know. You're saying Japanese, though. The answer, Chris, is Japan. Rita Cowan was courted by a gentleman that came over about 100 years ago and worked at places like Longmorn and Springbank, and he learned how to make Scotch whisky, and his name was Masataka Taketsuru. You might know of the Nika whiskies called Taketsuru, various age statements, Taketsuru pure malt and things like that. But Rita Cowan married him, and they ended up having to get through the Second World War and things like that, and she went through a lot of difficulties. It's really a fantastic story, but she's known as the mother of Japanese whiskey. And Oliver is saying, what a guess. Well done. Well done. Toon guessed correctly. Floydian guessed Ireland. So if we summarize that in the end, 1, 2, 3, 4. Floydian, almost a pass mark. Not quite, my friend. Not quite. 4 out of 10. I think I've got that right. 4 out of 10. Toon did very well. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're going to say 7 out of 10, but it's actually 6.5 because 6 to 6.5 because 2 of them were a wee bit soft. But 7 out of 10, fantastic performance by Toon, and a good, strong pass mark again. It's quite interesting that Santa Cruz has said that Chris is saying that he thinks that these might be getting harder. And you know, the idea is, of course, is that we don't score 9 and 10 out of 10. I keep saying this, that we kind of learn something. And if you've learned anything from this, you know, I've put 4 or 5 questions in there about women in whiskey, which I thought would be quite cool given the day it is today. I put an acknowledgement to a YouTube, a whiskey tube video about the Glenmorangie 25, which is one to watch. It's fantastic. I've mentioned a movie and the Angel Share that if you've not seen the Angel Share, you've got to watch it. It's great fun. And that last question, question 10, the story of Masataka Taketsuru and Rita Cowan, is a fantastic story. They actually did a series, a TV series in Japan, and I can't remember what it was actually called now. Lots of people, my wife has just texted me to say there's lots of people asking me to mix. Look at how, this is 2 hours it's taken me to get through this. I just talk far too much. So it's putting a wee bit of the old into the new Glenmorangie there. Give it a wee swish. But in Japan, they did a TV series, and you could get it on YouTube for a while, and it was subtitled. I've not searched for that recently. I don't know if it's still up there. But it was a fantastic story. And you can buy a book. Somebody actually wrote the story in a book as well. I have that book somewhere, and it's a good read. Great story. So there you have it. That's the quiz for another week. I'm actually amazed that I managed to put this whole live together tonight. It was a kind of bonus live. My wife's away in Liverpool tonight. I had to kind of put the kids to bed myself. I was rushing around like crazy. Managed to do it and still had fantastic fun. You guys have been as fantastic as you're awesome as you always are, as awesome as you always are. I'm going to have a wee look to see what the numbers were for tonight, just to let you know, for those that are curious. 120 of you in at the peak. Wonderful, wonderful stuff. Fabulous crowd of guys to hang out with. This is a privileged position for me, just to kind of open my door and let you all kind of hang out in my house for a couple of hours of an evening. Keeping it reasonably tight tonight. We're managing to keep it under 2 hours. I probably didn't get to cover all the topics like I never ever do. I'm just going to check Jason's feedback to see if I've missed anything. Connor's telling me we can see the answers on the slide. That was back at the start. Good. Nothing new in from Jason. Fantastic. So looks like Drinking Caveman Charles has got a live going out tonight with a guest for International Women's Day. Later tonight at 9:30 Eastern time, which is about 2:30 in the morning European, 3:30 in the morning Central European. So it's kind of out of it for us, but you can catch it on a Friday morning. Is the Scotch for Dummies doing their live stream. Congratulations to Toon for a great performance in the quiz. Commiserations to Floydian, but fair play to you for stepping up and participating, especially on your second ever visit here. And the questions probably were a wee bit tricky, if I'm honest. But that's part of it, right? If the Whiskey Rev had anything to do with it, these questions would be, all 10 questions would be virtually impossible. Just to close out on any comments here. Oh, I've missed did I miss something coming in? Did I miss a contribution coming in? Yes, John Paul Vanderhoven, can I bribe my way into a few good answers for the next quiz? Good idea, John Paul. Fantastic, and thank you for your donation, my friend. That's very, very much appreciated. And I'm sorry I missed that. I was flicking backwards and forwards from various screens. Let's have a wee taste. Jason's reminded me just to... Probably needs a bit more time. The answer is obvious. It improves the modern one, but it takes away from the old one. I think I'm really pleased that I opened this bottle. I'm really pleased that you can still go out and buy this at reasonable money at auction, less than £50. Hoagie's absolutely right. This is spicier and fuller and richer than the new one. The new one does, however, bring some qualities. It brings a fresh blast of fruit and zest and pineapple. But yes, I favour the old one. In this particular example, in this very small sample, nostalgia seems to win. Old versus new, old seems to win. I didn't get a chance to talk to you very much about the Old and Rare show that I went to a couple of weekends ago. I'll maybe write up a little blog and put it on the website or something like that. Or at the very least, I'll share something on Patreon. I already have. And just let you know how fantastic an expensive experience, if I'm honest, but a fantastic experience that it was. A few closeout comments. I've got Whiskey Throttle. Daniel is saying, I need to get some details on your blind tasting challenge. I'm sending some samples to Swami. Want to make him earn them. It's a good idea. I can help you with Swami. Absolutely no problem, Daniel. I'm happy to help you with that. Chris is saying, thanks for another great. I'm very glad you enjoyed it. Travis is saying, thank you, Travis, and thank you to everybody for joining in. Thank you to Jason for doing an awesome job feeding me the comments and helping make sense of the chat when it's moving so fast. It's fantastic. Is that another? Wow, from a completely new name. I've just had another donation in from Sviatoslav Sachko. You've donated and contributed to me, my friend, and I've absolutely butchered your name. I apologize. But that's wonderful. No comment, just a donation. It's very much appreciated. Thank you so much. George Kaplan is saying, thanks, fun evening. George, it's wonderful always to see your name, and I'm very glad to see you come here. It feels like you're here every week. Top Whiskies, Ed is saying, great job to Jason. Absolutely fantastic. Jason, you can do this anytime. Thank you so much for stepping in. The Whiskey Rev apologizes, but he's got a gig on tonight. He couldn't make it. He likes being here. He likes doing the kind of the moderator thing, and he likes to see the reaction to his quiz questions as well. Wonderful stuff. I think I've said everything I need to say. So I'll lift up the last of my Glenmorangie. I've managed to make 2 drams last me 2 hours. Responsible drinking right there. I'll raise a glass to you all. I'll say thank you very much. To Daniel as well, who's just donated as well. Whiskey Throttle, wonderful, my friend. Thank you so much. It's one of the cool things now about the updates to YouTube that we didn't even touch on, that even on mobile devices on iOS, whether you're on a tablet, whether you're on an iPhone or something, they've rolled it out just today, I think, or the last couple of days, that you can use the super chat function on all devices now, which is wonderful. And there's lots of cool new features built into the live interface in YouTube. Such as we're able to insert highlights and things like that. So that might be cool to just add a bit of tinsel, and it might help me actually with the quiz. It might be another way to do the quiz in the future so that you can't see the answers when I first put it up. But listen, thank you so much to everybody. You're all wonderful people. This is a wonderful thing to do, to be able to hang out on a Thursday night with you guys. The fact that the idea that it can be cool and fun for you too it just blows my mind. Thank you so much, and until next time, Sláinte.